بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. Respected elders and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, we have to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this great blessing of Iman which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed in our hearts. And mentioned time and time again that the Mufassirin say that if a person has to spend his entire life worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in appreciation of this bounty of Iman, the fact that he is just a Muslim, then too this will not suffice. This is what a great bounty Iman is. That we can never thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enough, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has even placed one drop or one atom of Iman in our hearts. In the ayat which has been recited before you, الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions some qualities of the muttaqeen, those who fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ فِي السَّرَّاءِ, those who spend in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at the time of prosperity, وَالضَّرَّاءِ, and at the time of adversity. Now these are two things generally us as Muslims, alhamdulillah, we have in our lives, that the Muslim ummah is very generous, and we generally practice upon these two things. However, the next two things mentioned in this ayah is a forgotten thing in our ummah. وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ, to suppress one's anger, to swallow one's anger. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and to forgive the next person. That is why the scholars mention that one of the most important things in our lives is the quality of hilm. And what is the quality of hilm? Hilm is tolerance and forbearance. Hilm is tolerance and forbearance. And this is one of the greatest qualities that a believer can have. This quality of suppressing one's anger. Now, very often in our general day-to-day things, we must use the aspect of tolerance. It is happening in reverse. When the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is broken, then we exercise tolerance. But when someone does something personally to us, then we try and fix the next person up. We try and take it out on him. Whereas it's supposed to be the other way around. That when we break the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then there is no tolerance. Then we need to fix ourselves up. But when the next person does something to me, and somebody hurts me, that is the time I need to exercise tolerance. That is the time when I need to suppress my anger. That is the time when this aspect of forbearance must show. And we know that anger is such a thing that every person will face it in his life. It's such a thing that is going to come into every person. At some point in his life, he will be faced with a situation which will make him angry. But what should a person do? A person should not act upon that anger. A person should not act upon that anger. Because when a person acts upon his anger, then the consequences of acting upon the anger is even more drastic. That is why there are a certain group of people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed with an immense level of tolerance. And they are able to keep their anger in check. And they are extremely tolerant. They do not even become angry. But there are very few in the world. For people like me, for us, it is very necessary for us to work on this quality of tolerance. To work on this of suppressing our anger. One person came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this person told Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, "Oh Sinira, give me some nasiha, give me some advice." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, "La taghdab," do not become angry. Again he asked, "Oh Rasulullah, give me advice." Look at how short and concise the advice is. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam again told him, "La taghdab," do not become angry. The third time he asked, "Oh Rasulullah, give me some advice." Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told him, "Do not become angry." Because when a person becomes angry, then he carries out things which he would not carry out in normal circumstances. That is why Moulana rahmatullah alayhi, he mentioned that anger is an ustad. Now generally we translate ustad as teacher, but in this sense, it means control. It means control. That when anger is an ustad, anger can control a person. Anger can drive a person to act this way or the other way. And Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi mentions that if a person has tolerance in his life, he has this quality of hilm and forbearance. And remember, we are talking with regards to social conduct. As mentioned in the start, when the law of Allah is broken, then we don't exercise tolerance, then we need to fix what we have broken. But this we talk in social conduct, dealing with one another. Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that when a person has tolerance in him, then this person will have purpose in life. This person will have purpose in life. Because a person will not act in an erratic nature when he has tolerance. He won't just act out of control. He will think before he acts. He will think before he speaks. He will see that down the line, what are the consequences if I do this? What are the consequences if I do that? So that is why this hilm is something that we must try and bring into our lives. And it is not something that will just come into our life that I can walk out of here today and I'm going to be a very tolerant person. It is something we have to practice upon. It is something we have to learn. Like everything in life, you learn the quality in life. This quality of hilm also we have to learn about it. Sometimes we will be standing. Sometimes we will fall down. Sometimes we will be crawling. But then we will have to stand up again. And we try and work and we build this quality of hilm in us, this quality of tolerance in us. If you look at majority of the social cases which are happening today, it boils down to no tolerance. And if you're dealing with children, we see that an elderly teacher mentioned to us that I asked him the question that what's kept you so long in this profession? The profession is a very daunting profession. It's a very stressful profession. He said to me, Moulana, many people have parents, many children have parents, yet they are orphans. Many children have parents, yet they are orphans. And that's what's driving me every day to come and teach these children. So if you have to just look at the situation in our homes, we walk into a house after a long day of work. How do I speak to my wife? Am I greeting my wife correctly? Am I even giving her a hearing? Or I'm going straight to the couch, sitting with my cell phone, taking out my work again and getting busy with other things? How do I treat my children? My child is there, my child says, Daddy, let's go play. How am I responding to that? I have no time, I'm very busy now, I'm tired. The child is trying to bond with me. And how am I responding to that child? That is why this teacher mentioned that many have parents, many children have parents, yet they are orphans. So very important that we see how we conduct ourselves. And then something happens, and then the wife speaks to us, and then we become angry because our minds are so stressed, and our minds are so tired, and we do not have this quality in our lives. And from there, you say something to her, it flares up, she says something to you, both of you end up flying. Because the words start going out, and the arguments start for nothing, for a small thing. Because this quality of hilm, this quality of tolerance is not in our lives. That is why if a person has this quality of tolerance and he works on this quality of tolerance, it will change his whole aspect of life. It will change his whole outlook of life. The child did something at home. The child is supposed to do something. A child is naughty. A child will carry out things at home. How do we respond to that? Many times a child breaks something at home. First we worry of what broke. Maybe the child broke an expensive thing in the house. Maybe the child broke a glass which was there. We end up shouting the child before even seeing whether the child is okay or not. Because the quality of hilm is not in us. The quality of tolerance is not in us. That is why Imam Ghazali rahmatullah alayhi says that when this person has tolerance in his life, then this person will be very careful about what he says. He will be very circumspect. He won't just make rash decisions. And he won't be hasty. He won't rush into decisions. He'll give himself some time. He'll give himself time to evaluate the situation before he makes any decisions. And the same thing happens in the workplace. You know, there are many examples of this in the workplace every day. A person gets into an altercation with his boss, and the words just start coming out, and what happens at the end of that? The boss fires him, becomes a big law case, CCMA comes in. Why? Because the aspect of tolerance is not there. The aspect of hilm is not there. Nobody can tell me anything. That is why we know this aspect of anger is naturally in every one of us. But in Urdu there's a saying, the translation of which is that don't let this anger strangle you. Don't let this anger strangle you. Moulana Masjid-ud-Duha rahmatullah alayhi gives an example of Sulh al-Hudaybiyah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam sees in a dream that the Sahaba are now going to Makkah. they're entering into Makkah-tul Mukarramah. For them, this is a massive thing. You must know the Sahaba have been driven out of Makkah. And if you look at the books of history, how one Sahabi, when he was leaving Makkah, how his heart was broken. He was leaving his entire family. He was leaving his children. He separated from the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Can one imagine the pain that the Sahaba is going through? The Sahaba is going through. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sees this dream that we are entering into Makkah. Now we know that the dreams of the Anbiya, this is revelation. In jubilation, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam calls the Sahaba. He says, I saw a dream. And I saw a dream that we are entering to Makkah. Immediately everybody says, oh Rasulullah, let's leave. This is a dream, it has to be true. You are the Nabi of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the Sahaba set out. And they're traveling on this distance, this journey towards Makkah. They reach a place called Hudaybiyah. The kuffar intercept them. The disbelievers come there and they stop them in their tracks. And we must realize by this time Islam was at its height. Islam was starting to become powerful. The kuffar came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They told him, where are you going? Where do you think you are going? He said, no, we are going to Makkah. He said, no, we have no permission to enter Makkah. You have no permission to enter Makkah. The Sahaba are now getting ready to fight. They're becoming angry. They're becoming agitated. That the kuffar are now stopping us from entering into Makkah-tul Mukarramah. And they come to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and they're saying, oh Rasulullah, let's fight, let's fight. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells them to hold back. The tolerance of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is a time when Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had the upper hand. If the Sahaba wanted to do, they could do. If Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wanted to do, he could do. But Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told the Sahaba to calm down. Someone insults us, how do we react? We're going to the airport, we're taking a flight gets delayed, issue on the company's side, how do we react? How angry do we become? Or is there tolerance in us? Is there forbearance in us? Time comes now, they're discussing with the disbelievers. They say, no, let's draw up a treaty. Let's draw up a peace treaty, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala an is writing down the conditions of this treaty. While he's writing down the name of Allah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, the kuffar stop him. They say, oh, take out the name of Allah from this treaty. Take out the name of Allah from this treaty. And at the end of this treaty, it is written, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And take out Rasulullah from the treaty. Write Muhammad bin Abdullah, Muhammad the son of Abdullah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam listens to what the kuffar are saying. He tells, oh Ali, remove it, erase it. Oh Ali, erase it. Ali radiallahu anhu tells Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, I can't do that. I can't take out the name of Allah. I can't take out your name, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. However, some narrations mention it was a miracle. Some narrations mention that someone else came and removed the name from the treaty. However, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam erased it. Look at this kindness of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The tolerance of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The compassion, his entire embodiment was of compassion. He knew not how to harm the next person. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not know how to harm the next person in social dealings. This was the tolerance of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Umar radiallahu anhu, we know, he was a person who was very emotional. He's watching this thing. He comes to the Nabi of Allah full of enthusiasm, full of anger. He says, oh Nabi of Allah, are you not the one on the truth? Are you not the one on haqq and they are on batil, they are on deviation? Are you not the true messenger of Allah? Why are you agreeing to all this? And we know the agreements in the treaty was all against the Muslims. That you can enter Makkah the following year, but you must come not with your swords around your necks, it must be in your bags. That if a Muslim from Makkah comes to Medina, you must return him back to Makkah. And if a Muslim from Medina comes to Makkah, we will not return him back to Medina. So all the treaties, all the agreements in there was against the Muslims. Every condition in there was against the Muslims. So Umar radiallahu anhu was angered by this. And he's in a high-pitched voice, he's asking, are you not on the truth, O Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, oh Umar, calm down. Oh Umar, look at who's speaking to who. Umar radiallahu anhu is speaking to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who is the king, who is the boss. And look at how Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam responds. Oh Umar, calm down. Behind everything there is a wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something we must learn to bring into our lives, that acceptance of a condition that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon us. And if we learn this acceptance of conditions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed upon us, that is when tolerance will come into our lives. That is when this aspect of hilm will come into our lives. This aspect of forbearance will come into our lives. So we are not mentioning the story just because it is a story, but look at the lesson behind the story. The tolerance, the forbearance which Rasulullah ﷺ had, even in the height of situations. That is why it is mentioned that a person can have a lot of salah, very good. A person can be reading a lot of Quran, very good. But what will take a person to the highest stages in Jannah? Husn khulq. That a person's good character will elevate him to the highest stages of Jannah. That is why it is important for us, respected elders and brothers, that we see how we can bring akhlaq into our lives. We see how we can be tolerant in our social conduct with one another. We know there are many, somebody says something to us, how do we respond? Do we just respond in haste? Or do we give ourselves time to deal with the situation? And the only time we'll know how tolerant we are is when we are tested how much water we're in, how deep we're in the water. When you are faced with situations and you are tested, that is the time you will know how much water we're in with regards to our akhlaq and our character. That somebody did something to me. The wife insulted me. My child told me something. Somebody at work told me something. How did I respond to that? There was an incident which happened. A person bought a new car. And his driver took this car down the road for a drive, a small spin. And in the small spin, he met up in an accident. The opposition jumped out, started fighting with this driver. This driver also jumped out, he started fighting with him. A big fight ensued. Hitting one another, injuring one another. In the end, the driver said, you know what? You take this some money and just go away. So why didn't he do this in the first place? The aspect of tolerance was not there. That you did this, no, it's your fault, no, it's your fault. That aspect of tolerance, that aspect of hilm was not there. When a person does not have tolerance in his life, a person will have no control over his tongue. A person will have no control over his tongue, and he will say whatever he wants to say. Look at the example mentioned of Hudaybiyah. Ali radiallahu anhu, look at the respect he had for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He did not want to erase the name of Allah from there. But he said that I can't do this. In a way of respect. It shows us something else, that tolerance and respect goes hand in hand. Moulana Qasim Nanotwi Rahmatullah Ali was a senior person, fought against the British in the invasion of India. His Sheikh Haji Darullah gave him a book to review, to see if there's any errors in it. So Moulana Qasim Nanotwi Rahmatullah Ali came across an error which his Sheikh had made in the book. Now generally when we find the error of someone, especially someone who is more senior, we take it out. Hey, you made this mistake. You know that alim, that senior alim, you made that mistake, and we advertise it. That is our condition. But look at how Moulana responds to his Sheikh. He goes to his Sheikh and he says, Sheikh, the sentence, I do not understand it. I do not understand it. And Sheikh looks at the statement and says, yes, it was my mistake. The aspect, Umar radiallahu anhu and them are fighting in jihad. And they are strong, they are many in number. And they are seeing that they're just not getting victory. They're just not getting victory. And now they're sitting and they're contemplating that, how come we're not winning? We have everything in place. All our plans are top notch. But we are not winning in the battle. There must be something wrong in us. Immediately the Sahaba's mind went to those who they loved, and that was Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he said, you know, for the past 3 or 4 days, the army has left out the sunnah of making miswak. The sunnah of making miswak, the army has left us out. What love do we have for the sunnah? How much respect do we have for the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Umar radiallahu anhu instructs all of them to make miswak. The opposition, the enemy sees that the Sahaba are now making miswak. They say something's happening here. They ran away. They fled from the battlefield. The miswak was used as a weapon. The love for the sunnah. And miswak is a guarantee that a person will die on iman. The correct usage of miswak, ulama mentioned, will also control the tongue of a person. That what comes out of his mouth. So the using of the miswak will also bring tolerance into a person. It will bring forbearance into a person. There was an incident which happened a couple of years back when we were still young. One of our friends, his brother got shot. So automatically everybody was sad. He passed away in an incident. The incident was this, that Outside a shopping mall, his brother and another person got in an altercation over a parking spot, over a parking place, a parking bay. And the person who his brother was in an altercation was pulled out the gun and shot his brother on the scene. Over such a small thing. Altercation over a parking bay. So this aspect of tolerance, respected elders and brothers, is a quality that we need to bring in our lives. This is a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And again, just to clarify, when it comes to breaking the command of Allah, there is no tolerance. That we need to fix up, that we need to sort out. But in our social conduct, with my wife, how do I talk? With elders, how do I speak? With my children, how do I speak? Do I give them time? What is happening in our homes? The way we speak to people, the words that we use upon the next person, ridiculing the next person. Hazrat Moulana Magda from Durban, Hafidhullah, Allah Ta'ala grant him a long life, he says that we must have so much forbearance and tolerance in our lives that we must be able to tolerate the nonsense of everybody. Anybody can tell you something, it can make you angry, it can affect you, but don't let it defect you. Don't let what another person make your actions defective. So we need to work on this quality, respected elders and brothers, this quality of tolerance, forbearance. That is something which is missing in our homes. Really, this is something when you speak to people, when you deal with social cases, when you deal with children, when you deal with teachers, when you deal with people in different professions. People have lost the way to talk to one another. How we speak to one another, how we deal with one another. وَالْكَاذِمِينَ الْغَيْرِ. As mentioned in the start, this is a quality of the muttaqeen. وَالْكَاذِمِينَ الْغَيْرِ. They suppress their anger. وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. And they're always ready to forgive the next person. And what are you promised if you have these two qualities? وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Allah's love will be with you. And what more does a person want than the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So inshallah, let us all make the intention that from today, I'm going to be different with my family. From today, I'm going to be different with my children. The elders in my family, from today, I'm going to be different with them. The people in the workplace, there's going to be a forbearance in me. There's going to be a tolerance in me. It's not going to come automatically. It's going to be a process. But let us have this in mind, that you should always try and be tolerant. The elders advise us that if a person has an anger problem, then he should sit with him in the night on a musalla for about 5 minutes. After Isha Salah, close his eyes, think to himself that every sin that I have committed, imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to instantly take punishment upon me. Imagine Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to instantly take action upon me. Because anger generally makes you take action instantly. So imagine everything I do, Allah instantly punishes me. What will be my condition? So how should I deal with the next person? How should I deal with the next person? So if we have this anger problem, daily try and contemplate 2-3 minutes at night that if Allah has to punish me for all my misdeeds, what will be left of me? And then a person should also recite A'udhu billahi minash shaitani rajim 10 times in the morning and 10 times in the evening. 10 times in the morning, 10 times in the evening. And it comes in a hadith that a person should always try and remain in a state of wudu if he has an anger problem. And if he's overcome by anger, then he should walk away from the situation. If he's standing, he should sit down. If he's sitting, he should lay down. He should try and remove himself in a situation, lest he says something which causes a loss of life, lest he says something which causes family ties to break, and lest he says something which can never be taken back again. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us with this quality of forbearance, with this quality of tolerance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it such that we can follow the Mubarak way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah.